2.0. And today we have our expert guest, Pirjo Suhonen, whom our other innovation manager, Anushka Dhillon, will introduce. Anushka, you can take over. I'll just share the PPT.
Thank you, Nidhi. A very good afternoon to all our Indian partners and a very good morning to all our European partners. I'm Anushka, the Innovation Manager at the MS University of Baroda, and I welcome you all to the EDUREFORM Expert Talk series. So if I talk about the EDUREFORM project, this is a 3-year project being co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. This project aims to mitigate the impact of the 4th industrial revolution on the Indian society, and it aims to bring an education reform for in-service and future teachers. Today, we have a very special guest, that is Ms. Pirjo Suhonen, who has a master's degree in educational technology. She is a global educator, influencer, a digital teacher trainer, and the founder of ELO Finland. She is a strong believer in lifelong learning, and she enjoys experimenting with innovative teaching and learning practices. She has varied work experience in the field of education from Finland, England, France, and Belgium. Working in multinational and cultural European schools of Brussels was very rewarding for her. And this was also the birthplace of ELO Finland, which is a digital teacher training process for the Finnish education. Today, Ms. Suhonen will be talking about the Finnish Double Flip Pedagogy, Coding and Collaboration. We extend you a very warm welcome, ma'am, and the floor is all yours now. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks. Thank you. Let me just quickly share my screen so that I can show you. I think it takes a while. There we go. So that I can show you the PowerPoint presentation I created for this, and thank you for the presentation. There we go. So there is ELO Finland. I created that few years back now, and it's been really a great experience for me. I mean, it takes me to all the places I didn't anticipate it would take. So it's been well worth the journey. And as it was mentioned, I will be talking about Finnish education and double flip. I was already introduced, but I just quickly say that if anyone's interested, I have a list of research and publications on elofinland.com/community. And I've been ever so lucky to be able to travel, not always myself, but sometimes my voice has traveled all the way from Alaska to Australia, Singapore, and elsewhere. And a few years back, I was in the same article in Sydney Morning Herald with Google, which is I'm really quite pretty pleased about. So it can all be found there. And ELO Finland is basically why the European School was the birthplace, was because I was the only Finnish teacher there, and everyone kept asking me about Finnish education, and a couple of them came to visit the Finnish schools here in Finland with me. And then I realized that it would be a pretty good idea to give everyone a possibility to visit the schools online. Obviously, it's not quite the same, but it gives you a good idea. How does teaching and learning really look like in Finland? And here I just show you, these are the courses that I have so far, and there's the Finnish Double Flip and Coding, which I will be talking about more today. And just to say that Finnish Double Flip, I use it on the online courses also. I don't want teachers just to learn with me, but from each other, because I think that's how schools should be. They should be learning communities, not just between learners, but teachers too. And I wonder what you already know about Finland and Finnish education, and what is the silver bullet, which I always keep, people ask me that what is the magic button that you need to press to make it work. Obviously there isn't one, it's a bit more complex, and I often hear the argument that it cannot be replicated, which is complete nonsense. There are plenty of principles and pedagogies which can be pretty easily replicated wherever you go, and coding lessons are one of them. And this boy is actually having a math lesson outside, and this is how learning should look like. And so there it is, Finland, Funland. Is the secret palette Santa Claus, which is the only Santa Claus, by the way, comes from Finland, Lapland, if you did not know this, or the magic of Northern Lights. It's not quite the thing, but I'm quite happy to share these images with you. And just to say quickly that because Finnish politicians ended up investing in the Finnish education years back in the 70s, then we managed to get Nokia, Angry Birds, Supercell, etc. afterwards, and we have a fairly high innovation index, and we are considered the happy nation also. So investment into education definitely pays. So to get to the point, it is still considered very effective system. The time and money we invest in it and the results we get are still very, very at the top. These are fairly old ones, 2012, but we still rank really well in all sorts of tests. But most of Finnish teachers, it's not just about the excellence, but it's more about it being an equitable system. And this is what all of the standardized tests show, the Pirjo, TIMSS, and the PISA, that the differences between schools and also between the weakest and strongest students are still the smallest in the world. Sadly, the gap between learners is growing in the capital region, but hopefully they are doing a lot of measures to it now that hopefully they will start to take effect soon. And teachers are definitely the key. And we also have a very broad framework as a curriculum, which leaves teachers a lot of autonomy. And even though we don't have any standardized testing or school inspectors, children are getting very good quality education wherever they go, Lapland, Helsinki, south or west. And then before I get to the actual coding lessons, it's not just about coding, but more about the competencies, what I was aiming with these coding lessons. And why competencies? Because we have our national curriculum, it only changes every 10 years. There might be some modifications to it, but the broad work sticks to the same, so that teachers don't get messed about every single year that what do we have to do this year, that they know and they can really implement it really well. And the last new curriculum from 2016, it introduced phenomenal learning and 7 core competencies. And this is what every nation is talking about. But the problem lies is that the implementation part of it often fails. It's the OECD report said also that many countries, they have beautiful curriculum, but in the end, it's just theory. If it's not put into practice in classrooms, then it fails. Then it's just beautiful words in a piece of paper. And this is what I was trying to aim for with the coding lessons. And here we go. Finnish Double Flip is actually a playful term for pedagogy to use to teach coding and competencies. And this was a lovely feedback I got from a principal from UK, and he says it way better than I do. What is it all about? It's teacher as a leader and co-learner. How to utilize the skills, innovation, and abilities of students across the world as digital natives, as well as develop global cross-cultural communication, massive learning, and good citizenship skills to be gained. This was quite lovely to read when I got the feedback from him. And here they are. These are my little coding ambassadors. They are in primary year 5 in the picture, and they teach in the primary year 1 students the basics of coding. And they started when they were on primary year 3. And flipped classroom means the change in teacher's role into a facilitator, and they use a lot of videos to actually teach the content before the lesson starts at school, and then they can do more, more teamwork, etc. in the classroom. However, in Finland, we flip it twice, just to push it a little bit further. Videos and learning games were used during the lessons, but more importantly, learners became teachers. And in other words, pupils flip the place with their teacher, and teacher becomes facilitator of the learning process. Of course, when you start doing something like this, the teacher has to have a bigger role to really get them into it, but you basically toss the ball for them and let them do the job. And more they do it, more you just, I'm sitting here now, and I didn't have to get involved. Here they are teaching the local entrepreneurs and the mayor the basics of coding. And they did it all from beginning to the end, the whole lesson. And they became a bit of local celebrities with the coding lessons. So that was really cool. And learning by teaching can be very effective, because to be able to teach something, you need to learn it first. It can be also a good motivator to really learn something, like really understand it, so that you can explain it to someone else. And these kids, they continued to code. They didn't just teach, but they got into coding themselves so much that they got interested in robotics also. And they took part in the national championships, and they became 2nd and 3rd in the following years. So that's pretty good evidence to convince anyone that it's an effective method to teach and learn anything. And they really enjoyed teaching. They didn't just teach the couple of classes, but the whole schools, including the principal and all the teachers. And a couple of the nearby schools, they heard about their coding lessons, and they did bicycle trips for the coding lessons. And as I mentioned earlier, they taught the local entrepreneurs and the mayor, and apparently mayor isn't too bad at it either. So that was good. And so in that sense, it wasn't just the whole school collaboration that it created, but it went even beyond. So that was beautiful to witness. And they created the learners community, and they didn't just take ownership for those lessons and for their own learning, but also the responsibility of the extended learners community. And it was just lovely. I mean, I think the images tell more than I can describe in words, but yeah, they are showing the little ones that this is how you do it. And as I mentioned earlier, Finnish Flip is not just about code. It was just the content that was taught. that the same method has been used in Pakistan to teach yoga, because the teacher couldn't take everyone in. And I just said that, well, what if you teach the kids to teach others, so that then everyone gets to learn something? And that was good. And then these same children, I took a video of them, and they managed to teach the learners and teachers in India via video the basics of it again. And this was a few years back in Bangalore. It was good to see it with my own eyes that it works. And phonetics and writings for preschoolers, and we've had preschool Olympics where preschoolers, the 6-year-olds, taught the younger ones gymnastics and etc. And the best thing was, about the same time when these coding lessons happened, I was teaching gamified mathematics in one school, and children made mathematics videos for the younger ones, so that they are able to play the game, the mathematics game. And it was lovely. One of the kids in front row, he was like, teacher. And I was just like, yes, what is it? And he just noticed it himself, that if I watch these videos again at home, and if I forget how to do, for instance, multiplication, I can watch it again, and then I remember it, and I can use my own Legos to really remember how it's done. So again, that was lovely feedback and lovely click moment when the child realizes that, hey, these can be actually really good for me. And but why did I choose coding lessons? Why did I flip it with the coding and the mathematics? But because coding is all about collaboration. It's quite rare that, especially when you write big code, that you work on your own. You always work in a team, and sometimes you have to email to your global collaborators or team workers to fix a problem or create the code when you can't do it all by yourself. And it's also logical reasoning and creative problem solving, understanding technology. So that's why it goes hand in hand with that to be able to learn the basics of coding, I want them to learn the collaboration skills, because it's so important. And everyone will definitely not become a programmer, and they don't have to, but it is a bit like learning a new language at the moment. Everything, we are so surrounded by code nowadays that it doesn't hurt to understand a little bit how technology works. Not just the user knowledge, but to go a little bit behind the devices to understand it better. And more so, this is crucial because I want to see a lot of future innovators, teachers and nurses and even business people who can collaborate better with coders when they understand each other a little bit. The coder doesn't have to explain everything from scratch when you know a little bit about Java or Oracle or whatever else. You know what is possible and you understand the time limits, etc. Better tools we can have in the future if you can collaborate better. And if anyone's interested, those kids are super inspiring. Please find from ALO Finland YouTube channel, you can find this video, Curiosity, Creativity and Future Innovators, Coding, Collaboration and Fun Learning in Finland. And the young coding ambassadors, they can tell in their very own words what they learned by teaching others in the video. I videoed it and it was I just took the whole lot. It hasn't been edited. They tell in their own words and analyze what they learned and what was difficult and what wasn't. And finally, I love tech, but I love ed more. And I'm bold enough to say that tech without ed is nothing. That there is, I used to hate it when some tech companies say that technology is changing education, when I go like nonsense. No, it doesn't. However, the people who can imagine, invent, and use it, IT, might change the ways we learn, but it has to be in collaboration with good, creative, innovative teachers, all the way from creating those tools to putting them into practice in classrooms. Thank you. Short and sweet. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. It would be lovely to connect there. And there you go. Any questions?
Thank you, Priyo, for your presentation. It was really enlightening, especially the point that everyone should learn coding a little bit. I also agree with you, because even though engineers, even though tech people make appliances, they make technology, but for the technology to be more adaptive to the needs for the domain for which it is made, we also need to collaborate with these tech people. And
Definitely.
it is, yeah, so it is very nice that if we start teaching children coding and children teach us coding, so articulation is very much, I would say, linked to concept formation. If one cannot articulate a concept, one cannot teach a concept, you don't know if they have learned it. So
Indeed.
you teach, you learn best by teaching. So
Yeah.
thank you for your presentation. Now I'll take question and answer from the attendees as well as audience in the YouTube. So there's a question from YouTube. Do you face a gender bias approach to coding in Finland? For instance, boys are taking more interest in coding, or boys are more encouraged to pursue coding, and girls are less encouraged to pursue coding.
Good question. It is meant for everyone. That coding is actually part of the new national curriculum also, but don't get me wrong, it's very basics of coding, but it's the whole point is that you introduce it at least a little bit, and then a lot of times, like these children, they got into it so much, and their teacher also, and the whole school, I think, that they ended up having like afternoon clubs coding lessons also. And we actually have a robotics company not too far from the school, and they invested on the simple robotics for them, because of course they can see it that it can be pretty handy for them if we can have solid coders in the future for the company. So but no, it should be for everyone, but of course you can't force it on anyone either. But just to get the basics of it is for both boys and girls. And we have a really excellent book writer who she's aiming even younger learners already in preschool, and she's written this beautiful book and poetry and rhymes about codes and robots and computers and a lot of arts and craft ideas. And she's actually a woman, and she said it that she would like to see more coders as women. And did you know that first coders were women actually?
So that's very pleasing to hear and very motivating and inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a compliment for you from Dr. Vidyanand. He's one of our partners. Thank you for a thought-provoking presentation, especially students as teachers. We have another question. Can we use coding for teaching languages?
Of course. You just have to be creative with it. Like I showed you the one of the slides that sometimes I don't even think of it, that of course you could flip it and use it to teach. I mean, you could easily either with the use of videos or something, you could make fun videos for others to, for instance, learn numbers or colors, rainbow songs or whatever else, and that could be really motivating for learners also to learn it. And there were a couple of children, they were learning how to use a phonics game with the preschoolers. And I think the funny thing was that it was the preschoolers teaching the year 1 students how to play the game, because they had played it more. So they were learning phonics with the younger students. And then the year 1 learners, they actually taught them to how to write their name afterwards and something else. So yes, definitely. And thank you for the compliment, by the way.
Thank you for your response. So, as we know, ever since we have this online learning during the time of pandemic, many parents have been very much afraid that the screen time of children is increasing, their attention span is decreasing. So, along these lines, we have a question from YouTube. How can we control the screen time of primary students?
How can we how can we make it so that they don't have too much screen time? Yeah. Oh, that's a tough one. I think every parent battles with that. But I would like to say that they screen time and then they screen time. If they actually actively learning something, it's slightly different than just watching cat videos, for instance, but which only have entertainment value. But at the same time, of course, I do prefer that live sessions are the best. But for global collaboration, screen time cannot be avoided very often. It's so effective that technology makes the world go smaller. So you have to kind of put it in the weighing machine, that the benefits you get and the cons you get, which weighs more. But how to do it? I mean, very often in Finland, children have even the locks and the alarms on, that if you're not at home yourself, that you can, and you can also click it to see how much time your child has been spending on the device. And to my knowledge, it also lists what they've been doing. Have they been playing Minecraft or watching YouTube videos or chatting with friends? So I think it could be a nice reward sometimes. It's a bit like very often in Finland, it's Pizza Friday, Pizza Perjantai in Finland, or Sweet Day Friday, that if you do all your homework and you do your PE, that it's everything in balance, then you can have 1 hour on Friday and another one on Saturday. But it shouldn't be too much, because it does passivate children, and they are highly addictive. There is a reason why Steve Jobs didn't let his children play with devices too much. He knew exactly, and this is why I also want to teach children to understand why certain games and things are designed and coded the way they are, that then they understand better how they are influenced also.
So, regarding this only, so can you suggest some ways in which we can inculcate ownership in students around their health? Because it's also related to circadian rhythm if we talk about too much screen time. So in Finland, since you also engage students yourself in teach this uh, flip double flip pedagogy, so how do you inspire ownership in them, that they take care of their health, their screen time, their self, means not just because of their parents but their own ownership?
That would be good, and that is definitely you should be aiming for. But of course, younger they are, more bossy you have to be as a parent also, or a teacher, because the ownership of your own learning, it doesn't happen just like this. They will learn until the age of 25, I think. Isn't that what they say, that the brain is about developed when you're 25? So they're not going to be ready in preschool or primary, or not even in secondary, maybe not even when they've done their A levels. So, but gradually you can give them a bit more responsibility. And of course, even the Finnish Double Flip, I didn't leave them there just on their own. I was always there. And even when they didn't even have to ask me, sometimes they just want to get a reassurance from a teacher, and they just look at you, and you just have to go, you just have to nod or go like, maybe not a good idea, and then they can continue. So you're still there in the background as their teacher, and that's what being a facilitator mean. But then again, they took the ownership of this really well, but then again, there could be another lesson that they don't know anything about yet. Then you have to take the role of the teacher again and the stage more. So it varies. It's just one more method to use that in teacher's toolbox. And what comes with the screen time again, because it is so addictive, you have to be the parent, the strong parent, to put the limits there, because otherwise those devices, you give them your little finger, it might take the whole hand. So you have to be the lion mother to check that it's all on the healthy side, because they are very addictive.
True. So we have another question now. So how do we improve or enhance students' creative thinking skills using coding?
Using coding, well, coding itself is quite creative. You need to be quite. They use this game to just to get the basic fundamentals of the code, and it's quite cleverly designed. And they also created their own games. And to make in this game, you have to make a bird fly different through different tracks, and you create it yourself. So you have to be quite creative to make it tricky enough and fun enough and not too challenging, so that others who get to play it finds it fun, and that the challenge is quite there. And also creativity. I think anything you do, creativity is basically imagination put into practice. So you can have very vivid imagination, but if you never create actually something concrete, whether it's a game or a code or a cake or an art piece or musical piece, it's just imagination, isn't it? So creativity you can teach by coding, but by many other measures also. You can do so many things with code. And the lady I mentioned to you earlier, I think it's quite nice how she starts the coding lesson. She quite often asks that, what is a computer? Where do we have code behind? Is toilet a computer? And so I think I'm drifting out of the question now, but yes, to answer you quickly, yes, you can teach creative problem solving with code, not only by trying to fix a problem that you have to, so that you can make something go through a track, or if you're creating a game, then you're creating something again, aren't you? Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, means you answered it very beautifully, because if we cannot represent our imagination, how do we know we are creative? And coding helps us represent our imagination in actual objects, like things. If children are making things, they are being creative.
Indeed. Or if they're making a robot move, then that is another creation, basically. They can code it to move in different ways.
So when children are teaching another children, means this, as we know, there are many child development theories. So egocentrism is there in children, and means we have learned a lot many things. Piaget says that young children are egocentric, and so do you see any such things happening, like children are not able to see from each other's perspective, or they are not able to think from each other's perspective, or they get into fights while teaching each other?
Surprisingly, not so much. But I think I've been asked that question before. That do children get slightly schmuck about it also, that they can take the stage? But I think these kids were really quite humble when they took the stage, and they were being really kind. They had their own teacher was super lovely. She has retired now, but I mean, very experienced, kind teacher. So to me, it almost felt like they were replicating her, the way she taught you. And I think it's a good. I think it also teaches you empathy when you take both the role of the learner sometimes as a teacher, because then you remember how difficult it is to learn every day and push yourself outside of the comfort zone. It's hard work, isn't it? And that will improve you as a teacher, so that you remember not to lose your patience if a child is not getting it when you're trying to teach it in different ways and it's just not happening. You don't get that clicking from their face that now I got it. But yes, I think they were being proud of it. They were being proud, but in a good way, that they weren't being schmuck about it, that they knew better than the others, that they were being able to teach the teachers, etc. But it was good proud, I would say. So
It
I'm not
was
too
enhancing
concerned
their
about it, but
self-esteem.
yeah, but of course you need to be sensitive about it, that because sometimes for instance, in mathematics lesson, it's good to use tutor, or any other lessons. It's good to have tutor teachers to teach a concept, because sometimes children speak the same language better than the teacher, and they find it sometimes they find it easier to teach from a peer than from a teacher. But you have to be sensitive there, that the other one is not making the less advanced child feel inadequate or anything else. But in this case, I was super proud of them, and they were too. If you watch the video, you can hear the happiness in their voice, but it's not being arrogant.
Means a lovely role model does a very much, so that it's children's self-esteem that increases, not their arrogance, I guess. Right?
Indeed,
Uh,
indeed. And I also think that every child has their own strength. That someone who is not so good at mathematics might be excellent at arts or music or even science or PE. So then you just have to spot those strengths and lift them at the pedestal, so that they have the right to shine. So that it's not always the same children who are being the tutor teachers, that they can be the trainees occasionally also. And that will also show them that, okay, I'm really good at this, but I can see that he or she is better than I am in that. And that's completely fine. We are just different, and this is my strength, and this is hers or his.
Respect for each other and empathy both are enhanced through this. Yeah, and
Indeed.
I can say it through the examples you are giving. These are very means I can really visualize what you are saying, that how it could be happening. Also the point that if child is teaching another child, they are talking at the same level. But if a teacher is teaching, maybe she is speaking already at some level above the child, and child may not understand. So
Indeed.
yeah, that is a very valid point and something to ponder for our audience and for ourselves as well, that should children be allowed it, or should we adapt peer teaching in our classrooms? So two tools from EDUREFORM, one computational thinking and peer facilitated classroom session, are also very closely linked to what you are saying. So Dr. Vidyanand, who is also here, he's writing a chapter on computational thinking, and
Oh,
I think that
wonderful.
yeah, the expert talk you are giving will be very helpful in that context as well. So yeah, I'll
Great.
see if there are any other questions.
I hope to read the article eventually.
So the book will be available to everyone, but we are still in the process, and I think we got very nice pointers for you for peer teaching chapter, also for computational thinking chapter also, and it was lovely having you speak at EduReform. um, I don't think we have any more questions on YouTube, and thank you so much. Now I'll welcome our newly joined member Shalini Somra to give a vote of thanks. Shalini, you are up.
Thank you, Ms. Nidhi.
Thank you.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to all the Indian partners, and a very warm good morning to all our European partners. So as introduced by Ms. Nidhi, I am Shalini Somra. So I, Shalini Somra, on behalf of Chitkara International School and EduReform team, would like to render a vote of thanks to the expert of the day, Ms. Suhonen. Dear Ms. Suhonen, we are extremely thankful to you for conducting such an enriching and illuminating session for all of us. Indeed, all the faculty members will benefit a lot from the methodology that you shared with us, Double Flip Pedagogy. I'm very sure, like, as you said, learners should take up the ownership of their own work. So I am very sure, like, if our partner institutes will implement such kind of a pedagogy, and we will also try to inculcate this learning experience to our students so that they can also take the ownership of their own work. And it was really nice to know that you have already implemented such kind of a pedagogy in the Pakistan's school as well as Indian schools. You have tried this pedagogy in Pakistan as well as Indian schools also. It was really great to know. And also the same shall greatly contribute to the elevation of the teaching learning process at EduReform partner institutes. As Ms. Nidhi has said, this your talk is really going to help us in writing our book. We are definitely going to incorporate the ideas given by you in our book, as well as we'll be adding our own ideas to the same. So we certainly look forward to conducting many more sessions with your good self. So once again, please accept the wholehearted thanks, Ms. Suhonen. Thank you. And so I would also like to thank the audience who all are sitting in front of the screen for attending this amazing talk. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Ms. Nidhi, Ms. Mansi, Ms. Alda, Ms. Celia, and all our EduReform coordinators for organizing such an amazing talk. So thank you once again, everybody, and bye for now from my side. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll end it.